And now for something completely different.
Forget everything you've been told by others before. Get ready for the real deal, the full story, real talk about money, markets, life. Now, it's The Real Investment Show, presented by RIA Advisors.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Financial Fitness Friday edition of the Real Investment Show. I'm Jonathan Penn. There I am. I thought it was short there for a minute, and all of a sudden my head just goes.
John's just coming down to my level.
That's it. Love that. Thanks, Brent. Welcome to the Real Investment Show. I'm Jonathan Penn. Everybody, friends, family, clients, all call me John. Like I say, my wife Shauna calls me Jonathan when I'm in trouble. That's when I know when I need to come and running. Joining me in the arena today, of course, is Jonathan McCarty. I call him Jonathan. He is not in trouble. Are you?
My wife calls me way worse than Jonathan when I'm in trouble.
Okay.
So you got it easy, John.
Well, thank you. So, so thanks, Jonathan, for spending some time in here this morning. Seeing a little red on the screen with futures. Futures are down a little bit this morning. Of course, waiting on the CPI report. We'll see how that comes out. We'll see how markets react to that. Of course, a little bit of pressure on gold and silver yesterday. In a way, not too surprising. Just there's been so much strength there. As Lance and Michael have been saying this whole time, especially if you have an allocation to precious metals, hey, take some profits along the way. I don't know, Jonathan, I don't know about you. Many of the clients that I work with, they for some portion of their overall investment allocation, they have some portion of their portfolio allocated to precious metals.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
Look, there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's just all about balance.
That's right.
Right. And if you find that your precious metals exposure is getting a little heavy, nothing wrong with taking a little profits along the way. So that way, if you see a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction to gold, silver prices, kind of like what we saw yesterday and what we saw at the end of January, especially, right?
Yeah.
Take a little profits along the way so that if that should happen, the bite doesn't feel too bad, right?
Well, especially when you have such a parabolic rise in something like precious metals, then your concentrations will shift pretty drastically. So it is important to take those profits and scale things back into model rate. Absolutely.
So talking about a parabolic rise, let's talk a little bit about car prices. Okay. So, as I'm sure, as I'm visiting with individuals and families, and we're looking at financial plans and trying to project goals, expenses, and how does this look let's plan for this moving forward. We need to account for things like vehicle replacements. But you want to talk about parabolic rises. So just here in Houston, as I'm driving around, Jonathan, I'm seeing a lot of paper license plates out there on the freeway, a lot of brand new vehicles. And I mean, just even like the brand new, I'm not picking on anybody here that's gone out and bought this because it's a beautiful vehicle, but even like a 2026 Tahoe, okay, that costs more than my first house.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at, $82,000, $83,000, $84,000 or north of that.
Yeah.
For some of these. And I know dealers and, they're trying to, give you a lot of incentives. I'm looking at some ads this morning for like $10,000 off, the MSRP. So that's bringing it down to like 70 some odd grand for an SUV.
Well, listen, John, I need an SUV that has a refrigerator in the car to keep my
in the
drinks
console.
cold. It's important.
You need to have the refrigerator in the console that you rest your arm on, right?
That's right.
I don't really need the refrigerator. I need something to keep my coffee hot. Now, like a heated cup holder, that would do it.
I bet they make that.
I bet they do, right? But think about this. So, and it's not so much just even the actual cost of the vehicle, but look, just I was looking at reports like the average cost of a new vehicle has risen from like $34,000, which is not insignificant.
No.
To right at or just over $50,000.
That's right. And you can't even get a new car for less than $20,000 anymore.
Right.
I think Nissan was the last one to make one, and they discontinued that model.
Right. So and it's not just the sticker shock, right? And I will tell you, a lot of the folks that I work with, they're there are clients that I work with who, when they buy a vehicle, they will go buy a new car. But many of the folks that I work with, they look for something that's pre-owned, maybe a couple of years old,
Yep.
that has relatively low miles. Maybe it's still under the original manufacturer's warranty. And so it's just amazing, as soon as you drive that new vehicle off the lot, how quickly it's going to depreciate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Right?
as soon as you drive off.
Right? So it's I've got a lot of clients that are deal hunters, or they'll find like a single owner vehicle and they do their research on that. And in my personal opinion, that's the way to do it. But you look at, so it's not just the sticker price that I see, but it's kind of everything else.
It is, yeah.
Right? It's almost like when you're buying a home, it's not the mortgage. It's not the principal and interest that gets you.
Yeah.
Like if you're buying a vehicle, I mean, if you're not able to pay for the vehicle in cash and you got to finance it, it's not just the loan payment, it's everything else. I mean, just look at the average cost of just car insurance now.
It's ridiculous.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the average cost for auto insurance is about $340 to $360 a month.
Yep.
That's just for the insurance.
And you would expect that rise. I mean, with the rising average cost of cars themselves, you're looking at insurance prices being a specific ratio of the cost of your vehicle. So if you're buying that $80,000 Tahoe, you expect to be on the higher end of that average insurance monthly cost.
Right. I mean, so that auto insurance expense of $343 to $360 a month on average, that used to be the ticket for the price of the car payment itself.
Yeah.
And now with these new vehicles, I mean, car payments are, $1,000, $1,100, $1,200 or north of that. I mean, $1,500, $1,600 a month for something that you're driving around. And I know just in Houston, I mean, around here, cars, and they just get beat to snot.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, that's a real technical term. Isn't that great? I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'll go to the grocery store to pick up, I'll take a step back. My wife, Shauna, does a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to going to I got to give credit where credit's due.
I was going to call you out for that, John.
Here it is. So, look, I'll give credit where credit's due. So, Shauna, if you're listening this morning, she's probably up drinking her first cup of coffee right now. She's like, I go to the grocery store all the time, John. What are you talking about? I can already hear it. I know. I'll give credit where credit's due. But when I do go, it never fails. Like I'll try to go find the parking spot in the parking lot where it's away from everybody else. Mm-hmm. And then I come out from running my errand and there's somebody right up there next to me.
Never fails.
Never fails. Yeah. And they've given me what I call the Texas pinstripe with their door. Just right down. It's like, I just can't go out there and buy an overly expensive vehicle. Not in Houston because our roads and our potholes. I mean, the streets around here are maintained so well.
Dun-dun-dun.
Dun-dun-dun. I mean, the cars just get beat up. So, but that's another point. It's not just auto insurance. I mean, I think it was about, 3 years ago, just our own auto insurance policy, our premiums went up by 33% in 1 year.
Yeah.
Right?
You used to get rewarded for loyalty to an insurance company, and that is shifting in the marketplace. Now, insurance companies are realizing some of these people that just sign up for their insurance, they just let it auto renew and they don't even pay attention to the cost coming out. And that I experienced that firsthand. I'm not going to call out the name of my insurance carrier, but I was using a certain company that has a great woman mascot who rhymes with Roe. And I had been a 6-year client of this company, and out of nowhere, my insurance premiums almost doubled. And I couldn't believe it. And I called them and said, no, that's correct. That's your new insurance premium. Called another company whose mascot may be a small lizard and cut my price back in half. Again, not advocating for any company over another, but it's true. You're no longer rewarded for that loyalty. They assume, well, these people are never going to switch, so we can just slowly creep their premiums up and they won't even notice.
Tell us how you really feel,
yeah,
man. Come on.
I'm bitter. Yeah.
But it's so true. Uh-oh. Brent just swung the mic over. Here we go.
Well, I'm just saying you need to go with an independent agent that is not beholden to any one insurance company and make them shop that every term. Every time it renews, make them shop it.
That's smart.
That is true.
Yeah.
Well, and so, excuse me, here's another challenge just with vehicle ownership and the cost of insurance. So through some friends of ours who they are in the EMS, like ambulance services, et cetera, and they react to accidents and what have you. and they provided a stat to me that like 50% of those that are involved, they have seen that close to 50% of folks around here in Houston don't even have auto insurance.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that to me was a really high number in my mind. I didn't realize that that's a pretty staggering number.
Yep.
So guess who else is paying for the premium?
Exactly. That's part of the price in the premium that you're paying
Right.
is to take care of the uninsured motorist coverage.
Yep.
Yes.
The last 3 guys that hit me, uninsured.
All three of them?
Yes.
Yep. My father was rear-ended a few years back. Didn't have any insurance. So, yeah.
So these are, so as far as when we're at, so you're talking about all this, like you were talking about parabolic movement in prices with gold and silver. I mean, it's there just with, vehicles and auto insurance and just maintenance. I mean, and just the cost of repair. So these are all things you have to think about when you're looking at buying a vehicle, or if you need to replace a vehicle, or just younger adults,
Yep.
As they're, saving for their first car,
Yep.
right? These are all things that you have to think about. And you have to look at this from a total expense standpoint. And just at the end of the day, how much can you really afford?
Yeah, you made a good point earlier, John, about your clients that look for those vehicles that are a couple years older. I'm a big fan of the book The Millionaire Next Door, and that's one of the lessons in that book is to go out and find a car that's maybe 3 or 4 years older, preferably private seller because you can do a little more negotiating there. But even if it's not, you're going to already have most of the depreciation of that new vehicle already gone, and so you're not paying for that brand new car, but you're also not suffering the depreciation expense.
Exactly, and so. All really good things to think about. So our girls, our daughters our youngest will be 24 in July. Our oldest will be 26 in October. And, I don't mind sharing this. I mean, for their first vehicle when they were in, high school, and now they're both graduated from college. I mean, time goes so fast, right? We actually bought their first vehicles. But now for a replacement vehicle, it's on them.
Yeah.
Right. And so now with our oldest daughter, who's going to be 26 a little bit later this year, we've been having a lot of conversations around like, when's the right time? Like, when do you know it's time to replace a vehicle?
When my wife tells me to. Yeah.
That's it.
I'm that guy who drives.
He learns.
I drive a car into the ground, actually. So my last car had about 230,000 miles on it. And my wife, yeah, that's what I told her. And she didn't even realize. She got in one day and looked, and she's like, I didn't even know cars can have that many miles. How is this thing still running? This is not safe. You need a new car. So, yeah, I had to bite the bullet on that one.
Yeah, so the vehicle that I drive, I mean, it's a 2011 Nissan Armada. Awesome. It's just a land barge.
Drive forever.
And there is literally super glue on it. I have super glued some molding back. See, Brent's shaking his head. Like, yeah, I know. I feel you.
Little duct tape on the fender.
Little duct tape on that. I literally have on the back latch of my vehicle, for the lift gate, there's some Gorilla tape on there. Look, I have no shame. And look, and I know there are clients out there listening this morning, because I have, like, for our economic summit, I took some clients back to the airport in it. So I have no shame. So we'll take a ride in the Armada. Come on, let's go. But to your point, I'm going to drive that thing until it just can't start anymore.
Right.
So, but our oldest daughter, there's been some mechanical, not really major issues with her vehicle. Like, she just had to have a solenoid replaced on the engine block. But she actually found a great, so she's out in San Antonio now, and they found a great shop out there that took care of the repair at a really nice price. But not too long ago, her brakes were squeaking, and so she got a quote to get her brakes replaced. And I think she spent about $650 on brakes. And she was asking me, hey, is it time to replace a vehicle? And I said, hey, that's just normal wear and tear.
Yeah.
Right?
It made a noise. It's time to get a new one.
Yeah. So, but there comes a point where it's like you have to make a decision around, are the cost of repairs and maintenance too much, and are you better off making a decision on looking for something different?
Yeah,
right?
I mean, if your car is only worth $5,000 and you have an oil leak or something like that that's going to cost you $3,500 to fix, then it becomes kind of a cost-benefit analysis situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So all of these wonderful things that you have to take a look at when buying a vehicle, whether if it's brand new or are you looking at something pre-owned, does it make sense to lease? Right? I mean, I spoke with a client earlier this week. They like driving a kind of a new car every 2 to 4 years, and they don't put a lot of miles on it. I mean, So, and for them and for their budget and what they were looking for, at least for them, worked out just fine. But but when you're looking at the just the cost of vehicle ownership, you got to take a look at this from all of those all of the expenses that are associated with that.
That's right.
So something else too, Jonathan, that I get a lot of questions around. I know you do too, because we work with a lot of clients who have young children or they're starting families. Is 529 plans. A lot of questions about these, and especially as children grow and get older, which goes like that. Sometimes there's money left over in a 529 plan, right?
Yep.
Now that was not the case with our girls, so we had a 529 plan for each. Didn't take long to drain those. So we used the funds in 529 plans for our girls for college expenses. And so we did not have money left over in 529s. But I run across situations where there is money left over in a 529 plan. Yeah. And then the question becomes, Jonathan, what do we do with this? What can we do? So what, any thoughts that you might have or on, hey, if there's money left over in a 529 plan, maybe what are some options to explore?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of routes you can take if you have leftover 529 funds and still preserve that tax deferral of the gains and appreciation in the account. In fact, one of the recent updates from the IRS was around rolling a portion of that over into a Roth IRA for the same beneficiary. Now, of course, there are some limits that you can do each year. There's a maximum on a lifetime basis. And if there are still reserve funds after that, you can roll them over to another relative, if it's a parent, grandchild, a cousin. More importantly, you can maintain control of those assets. So we do get these questions a lot. Around the Roth IRA option, I think it's about $8,500 a year. And you have a maximum of about $32,000, I think lifetime maximum on that. It's a great option to consider. But it just depends on what your plans are. And, I'm sure you get this question a lot as well, John. The difference between a 529 and the UTMA, one of the key benefits is that you control the assets,
right,
rather than handing that over to your child.
Yeah, and that's a question I get a lot of too. Is it better open like a custodial brokerage account where maybe mom or dad or maybe it's grandma or grandpa are opening up an account for the benefit of the child or grandchild? Is that better maybe set aside for college expenses or just some expenses maybe for that child later in life? Do they want to use that money for vehicle purchase or maybe putting towards some property, whatever it might be? But then, for that custodial account, typically, depending on which state they live in, the age of majority is what I usually see is about 18.
About 18,
is when that child becomes a quote-unquote young adult when they're 18 and know everything that there is to know in life, right?
I was the smartest in my life at 18 years old,
right.
I promise you.
My mom and dad didn't know anything. And then all of a sudden, a couple years went by, and then I figured out that they were brilliant, and I didn't know anything, right?
Full circle.
But sometimes the challenge is at 18, that account becomes theirs.
That's right.
And if they want to take that money out and go to Vegas with it, that's it.
Yes.
Right. So some of the drawbacks that I hear about 529 plans is, well, I have less investment flexibility in there. You usually have a kind of a portfolio of mutual funds, almost like a menu within a 401k plan that you can choose from. With a 529 plan, I don't really know I don't think you need to be in there kind of like trying to day trade like a 529 plan. I think the benefit of the potential tax-free growth of the assets in the 529, especially when that money is coming out for higher or for qualified, education expenses, I think that's a pretty significant advantage.
It is, absolutely. And, parents sometimes get hung up on, well, what if my child doesn't want to go to college?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in most cases, that 529 can also be used for things like trade school or any other post-secondary education.
That's exactly right. But you made a great point earlier about now. So about money that's left over in a 529 plan, it could be potentially be rolled over to a Roth for that beneficiary or that child on that 529 plan. Mm-hmm. Like when I was growing up and back in my day, that wasn't an available option. It just wasn't. So now I think that's a very attractive option where, that now if that 529 plan has been in existence for 15 years and the same child, that beneficiary, has remained on that account for the full 15 years, so there's some rules around this, then that money could be rolled or moved to a Roth IRA. And Jonathan, you're right. Kind of the maximum or the lifetime amount on that is currently $35,000. So if there's $50,000 left over in the 529 plan, you could move $35,000 of that over to a Roth IRA. But it's not just in one fell swoop. It's every year.
Right.
Right. And in order to be able to move that money from the 529 to a Roth IRA, the child needs to have earned income. Right?
It's a very important distinction.
So they need to have earned income. And let's say for 2026, somebody that's under 50, I remember what that used to be like. So if somebody was under 50, I'm not that over 50. I'm not, just a couple years. But for those under 50, $7,500 could go from the 529 over to the Roth. So if you do that, you can't then go also put another contribution into a Roth IRA. That you've already maxed out your amount.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned earlier, great point too, Jonathan, about trade schools.
Yeah.
There are a lot of moms and dads that I'm visiting with where their sons and daughters are very interested in exploring or going to, to go be educated with a trade.
Yeah. It's definitely increasing in popularity, especially when you consider that the unemployment rate right now for recent college graduates is actually a little higher than the average unemployment rate in the nation, and so that's not typical. We would expect it to be actually the opposite. And kids are growing up being told you need to go to college and get a degree and get a good job, and a lot of them have done that, and now they're getting out into a workforce that doesn't have the jobs available to support that. And so it's become disillusionment for a lot of younger generations that are still coming up through high school and seeing maybe their older siblings going through this experience.
Absolutely. And so, and you just look at so you were talking about parabolic. We were talking about precious metals earlier. Then we were talking about the parabolic prices on not just buying a vehicle, but maintaining it and insuring it. Just maintenance on a vehicle. Look at just the cost of school.
Yeah.
The cost of college. For a 4-year in-state public university, just in Texas, right? $25,000-$30,000 a year, somewhere in that range. So you're looking at 120 grand,
right,
for 4 years.
Yep.
Right.
If it's even a top public university, significantly more. If you're looking private, it gets staggering.
And that's for undergrad.
Might as well go buy that new car.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's for undergraduate studies, right? And you look at what the kind of the average starting salary is for a graduate from a 4-year, let's say, in-state school, compared to the average starting salary or wages of that of somebody who goes to welding school.
Right.
They're not that much different as far as the starting salary is concerned.
Yeah, and typically the vocational schools are much shorter in duration. I mean, honestly, the typical 4-year college degree has kind of morphed into a 5-year college degree for a lot of students, just because of capacity constraints in class sizes or just availability of those classes. If your kid is in and out in 4 years, you're actually one of the fortunate ones. Yeah.
So it was like when I was in school, it felt like I was there forever. It's like, I'm never going to graduate. And all of a sudden you graduate, and I was like, I can't believe I graduated from college back in 1998. Now I'm really dating myself, y'all. Okay, there it is, right? And it seems like it was just yesterday. But it's like when you're in school, it's like, man, I'm never going to get out of here. And then you get out, it's like, I wish I could go back.
Please take me back.
Please. It's like when our girls would come home, oh, I had such a stressful day today, Dad. I'm like, really?
Yeah, tell me all about it.
Let's
please
get into this. All right. Let's really talk about stress. It's
World's
like,
smallest violin.
I will switch with you right now.
Yeah.
Put me back on campus anyway. But you think about it. So the cost of, maybe as an example, going to like a community. I've seen many having many conversations with families where now their sons or daughters, maybe they're not going to start at a 4-year school. Mm-hmm. Maybe they go get their basics done at their local community college.
Yeah, save thousands.
Yes. And so kind of start there, and then maybe you transfer. Maybe you finish your last 2 years at a like a larger university to maybe get that experience,
Right.
right? But even like I was looking up just the kind of the average cost of like going to like welding for trade school, and you're depending on your skill level or what have you. I was looking at cost of $5,000 to $15,000.
Drop in the bucket.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, 15 grand is 15 grand, right? But I'm looking at 15 grand, 120 grand, and incomes at least right now for 4-year degree versus trade school. There's not a big delta there.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
and a lot of these vocational programs will offer apprenticeships. So you're still working and getting paid, and that's going to help to offset those costs for that type of training. I actually, believe it or not, John, I am a John of all trades, and I got certified as a welder.
That's
actually,
fantastic.
Right after high school. Yeah. My father was in construction, and so I wasn't sure I wanted to go right to college, and we had a good hunting buddy of ours who was actually the welding instructor at the local community college. And so I went and got certified. That is tough work. And so that's, I think, the one thing that maybe causes students to pause on that is that, a lot of these trades are some demanding physical jobs. And the test to become certified as a welder, you have to put 6 beads on one joint above your head. You have to do an overhead weld. And it is challenging, and you are getting showered in sparks, and you got burn marks coming home. But I'm a big fan of working with my hands. I absolutely loved it. I still have my leathers and my hood, and occasionally mess around with my dad out on his ranch.
I think that's fantastic.
It's a lot of fun.
I think that is fantastic. There's something about being able to work with your hands.
Very rewarding to see
Yeah.
the product of your work.
It is, and it's kind of a lost art too. And I brought this up before, but I remember when, like back in the good old days when dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Back in my day.
and I was going to high school and junior high. Like, remember going to shop class. I mean, it was kind of like this closet in the back of the building that they kind of put like a wood saw or a table saw in there, and they had a couple hammers. It was like, okay, let's go to shop class now, learn how to build something. Man, has that changed.
Yeah.
You look at the welding trades or just the trades in general that high schools are focusing on now. I mean, it is a major investment and a major hub of the school.
Oh, they call it construction technology now.
Yes.
Yep.
And I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome. And again, as I'm visiting with moms and dads, they're now with this boom in AI, right? There's a concern out there that maybe the career path that their son or daughter took, they're starting their college career. There's a lot of concerns that I hear from moms and dads that, hey, when my son or daughter graduates, maybe that career profession that they're interested in, hey, is AI going to take that over, or is it
Yeah.
going to replace it?
A lot of the professional trades have that risk.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think there's a marriage between a lot of those technical trades and AI to make them more efficient, right? But I still think you're going to need hands in there,
Yeah.
right? So there's just a lot of concern that I hear from moms and dads about, oh my gosh, is AI going to replace this?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the other concern, for individuals when they're saving for those 529 funds is my child going to want to go to school, or is my child going to be able to go to school?
Right.
And one thing that I recently found out about, actually thanks to you, John, was around the ability of rolling funds from a 529 into what's called an ABLE account. And this is for individuals with disabilities, and it's a way to separate assets out to protect them from consideration for other social services programs that are available to individuals with disabilities.
Yeah.
I think that's a great change.
Absolutely too. Yeah. So there's been a lot of changes in just in the 529 space. And so, if you have questions around, if you have money that's left over in a 529 plan, or if you have questions around what to do with this, or just, hey, reach out to us. Stop by our website, realinvestmentadvice.com. Hey, reach out. We're here. We're here to help you and navigate these choices that you have, and kind of talking about navigating some things. I see there's this, I guess, almost like a tug-of-war, for lack of better words.
Yep.
With parents wanting to be able to provide funding for their children to go to school, but at the same time, they also want to save for themselves and the retirement side of things too. And so there's like this balance around, well, what's the right approach here? I mean, and this is different for everybody. So like for me, I'm very blessed. I feel very fortunate to say that, my parents paid for my school, right? I mean, I came out of school, I came out of college. I did not have any student loans. I had no student debt.
That is very fortunate.
And, at the time, I didn't realize what a blessing that really was.
Yeah,
Right.
I was on the other end of that spectrum, John. My parents, as much as they wanted to, just
Yeah.
did not have the ability to pay for my education, and so it kind of fell upon me to find a way.
Right. And so now I worked through school the whole time, right? I mean, I had to, have my income and everything else. I mean, I had to take care of, so talking about vehicles real quick. So when my dad he was able to have a company vehicle, which freed up a car. And that was the car that I took. That's the car that I drove in high school, and that's the car that I took to college.
Nice.
Well, then so I have two younger sisters. And so when the older of the two, it was she got her license, I got a phone call. Got a phone call from Dad.
The repo man's coming.
And it was, hey, that car you're driving? I was like, yeah. It's like, it's not yours anymore. It's like, oh, what happened? Well, your sister needs it. It's like, oh, okay. He goes, so you're going to need to go buy a car. It's like, oh, all right. And that was a great learning experience, just like that, right? Yeah, that car you got out there, nope. When the next time you come home for the weekend, it's going to stay here. And if you want to get back to school, you're going to need to go buy something that weekend.
Greyhound station's just right down the street, John.
So, but I felt so fortunate that my parents they did pay for my school, and my wife and I want to do the same for our girls. But there is a lot. But with just the rising cost of school, and I just know in our own financial plans, when we're looking at college planning, higher education planning within just the financial plans that we put together, we use a higher rate of inflation for college planning. We inflate those costs currently at 5% a year. And you look at something like a newborn. I mean, I know you've got a young one at home.
Yeah, almost
right?
9 months.
9 months?
It's creeping up on me. Yeah, I
Gosh,
blinked.
already 9
I don't know what
months.
happened. Yeah.
But you look at the cost of tuition today versus like when he might go to school, let's say in about 17, 18 years, you inflate that out by 5% a year. That's a big number, right?
Yeah, staggering.
It's staggering. So I can see there's this, hey, moms and dads, they want to help their kids with tuition, but at the same time, as you always hear, there is financial aid for education costs, but there's not financial aid for retirement.
Exactly. And we tell clients this, I'm not sure how you phrase it, but I tell them you have to pay yourself first.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you have to make sure that you've secured your own retirement and if you put it into context, what would you rather have? Would you rather have the ability to pay for your child's education, or would you rather have the potential of being the financial burden on your children later on in life because you didn't save enough for your own retirement? Because that's not uncommon. I mean, I think 60% right now of working age adults are supporting their elderly parents in some capacity.
Yeah. It's so. Hey, Audrey and Andy, our wonderful daughters, you are my retirement plan.
Yeah.
I expect to have a room with a coffee maker in it. That's all I need.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be quiet. I'll hang out in the back. I'm just teasing.
Shuffle around at night.
Yeah, but it's
And Wi-Fi.
And Wi-Fi. Just it. I just need to be able to get online. But all kidding aside, though, that could be a reality, right? So because as I'm visiting with folks that are moms and dads, and they're in their prime earning years, or now they're getting closer to those next chapters of their life, and retirement's so broad. I mean, it means so much to everybody. And rarely do I say, hey, when I retire, I'm just going to stop working. Folks just want to be able to have the choice to do something different. That's usually what I see. Mm-hmm. But, there's two themes that are, everybody's different that we work with. But there's two themes that are very common. One, I don't want to outlive my assets, and I don't want to become a burden to my children.
That's right.
Right. And so I and depending on how much you want to help your kids with making sure that their financial future is safe, you're at the risk of maybe sacrificing your own.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I think that's where it really helps to have conversations with your kids around, hey, here's what we're willing to do. And then the rest is, we'll help you, we'll educate you, and kind of the rest is on your own.
Yeah.
Right. And there are many moms and dads. There's nothing wrong with this. There are many moms and dads that I work with that, like you put yourself through school. You did it, you earned it, you paid your way, and it was probably, I don't want to speak on your behalf, but I can only imagine it was an incredible learning experience.
It was. I mean, it taught me a lot of fiscal responsibility, you know, and you talk about that there are other options out there for individuals to help, and student loans are one of them. But there are some important considerations with student loans, and the difference between a subsidized and an unsubsidized loan is a very key distinction that I think is often overlooked. So, you know, if you are helping your child navigate through covering for college costs, make sure you're explaining these concepts to them, because an unsubsidized loan, for those who are not familiar, accrues interest while you're still in school. So if you figure, you know, a top tier public university, maybe $50,000 a year, you take out that $50,000 unsubsidized loan at around 6%, if you're lucky in today's market, by the time 4 years has passed, if they are in and out in 4 years, the balance on that loan is now ballooned to over $63,000. So that's before you've even started making payments. I mean, that's over a 20%, 25% increase on the actual principal of your loan, and then you start making those payments.
Yeah.
So there are definitely options out there, but it's important to have these conversations with your children around what is the most advantageous way to move forward and what's not.
Yeah, and so there are many moms and dads that I work with where, hey, they made their own way through school, and they want their children to have that same experience as well.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
I think it builds an incredible character.
I've been told I'm quite a character, so I think that's correct.
That's very well. That's very good. Yeah, it builds some grit too, right? And so there's nothing wrong with that. But so if you need to take out some student loans, right, just like what Jonathan was making, great points. You know, sometimes if you know, maybe if you're taking out those student loans and it's starting to accrue interest while you own the loan, just at least try to make some interest payments while you're in school. So that way, when you get out of school and those payments kick in about 6 months after you graduate, hopefully those payments are a little bit more manageable at that time.
That's right.
Right?
Yep. And, you know, most parents, when they're looking into college costs, everyone is typically familiar with the FAFSA option, right? Mm-hmm. And there are other options out there. Now, they're not used by every school, but there is the CSS program, which is for non-federal financial aid assistance, mm-hmm. and it's typically specific to individual colleges, those that have endowments, et cetera. It is a little more involved than FAFSA. You know, you're going to provide more information to them, but it also gives you a point to provide additional context as to why you may need that extra assistance. You know, when you're looking at the FAFSA application, it's very kind of cut and dry. Like here's your income, here's your financial responsibility to your child, and if you cannot cover that, then they're going to need to fill that gap, typically through loans. But the CSS profile that can be created, and you know, there's about, I think, 300 plus schools nationwide that accept the CSS. You can create that profile, then have it sent to whatever college you were accepted to, and hopefully get some non-federal financial aid assistance directly from the college itself, which can help reduce those costs.
Absolutely. I'm looking at our chat this morning too, and you know, I see Blair. Blair, I see your comment there about
Hi, Blair.
How you waited tables in college and bootstrapped your degree. I mean, that's incredible, right? I mean, and I'm sure it really taught you, discipline and scheduling and everything else. And I mean, I think that's fantastic, right? Or a Walmart greeter. Very good. Yeah. Somebody was asking about Rich's retirement plan in here in the chat. I thought I saw that somewhere. I think he wants to work at Buc-ee's. He loves Buc-ee's.
He's going to be a puppeteer at Buc-ee's.
He's going to be a puppeteer at Buc-ee's.
Very well paid. Yeah.
Maybe he'll get some free beaver nuggets as part of that.
Perhaps.
I don't get that, by the way.
The beaver nuggets?
The beaver nuggets.
You don't like them?
No, I don't.
What part of the beaver is the nugget? I'm not sure.
Well, it's basically deep fried something. I don't know what.
Yeah.
They're like overgrown, like corn pops.
Yeah.
On steroids.
Really?
A little bit of sugar in them.
Put like some sugar. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's all got the four food groups: flour, sugar, corn syrup. There's some other sucralose additive in there, something like that. All the major food groups.
MSG.
Yep. That might be it too. But so the last time we went to Buc-ee's, and it was like a madhouse in there. It was like every man, woman for themselves. It was like, I mean, there were talking about parabolic costs. When we pulled in to get gas, there was like a family of 6 coming out, mom and dad and 4 kids, all wearing matching Buc-ee's T-shirts. I thought it was like pulling up to Disneyland or something.
It's the rite of passage. You have to get it.
Now I'm off in this Buc-ee's tangent. But anyway, so I went in there. All I wanted was some coffee and like some chocolate-covered almonds.
That was an expensive cup of coffee, wasn't it?
So I live my life on the edge. What can I say? And so our girls, they got this, I want to get a bag of beaver nuggets. I was like, okay. So they got this, and I was like so excited to try it. the hype does it just no. Save your money.
Let you down?
Sorry, but no, let me down. Maybe other people out there really like the Buc-ee's beaver nuggets, but I'm not a fan.
Save your money and go with the glazed pecans.
See, now you're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry we just got off on that tangent. But there's a poll that I wanted to bring in here this morning. So,
Great
so now I'm all
transition.
over the place, right?
Smooth segue.
How about that for a segue, folks? All right. So we've been talking about, expenses and inflation and, things going parabolic, gold, silver, cost of vehicles, cost of college. So here's the question. So of these expenses, which is what do y'all think? Our listeners out there right now in chat, come on. I'm ready for your responses here. Of these, which expense is providing the biggest surprise to families right now? College plan changes and money left over on a 529 plan. Choosing between retirement savings and tuition help. Car insurance plus maintenance jumping unexpectedly on vehicles. Is it all of the above because your budget feels squeezed everywhere? Or is the most parabolic price increase on the cost of chili? You weren't expecting that one, were you?
Left field.
Left field. The only reason we were I've got to give some props here to Brent. So early this morning, we're both in here before the show's going on. I've got my breakfast of choice. He had his breakfast of choice. It both turned out that we were enjoying our peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, both with crunchy peanut butter, by the way. Like I said, I live my life. See, I see Devote is in here too, by the way, this morning, y'all.
It's the only way to have peanut butter.
And he's back here and he's like shaking his head. He agrees. He's like, yeah, I like the crunchy peanut butter, right? But then we started talking about chili. Do you like beans? So I'm going to ask you, Jonathan, right? And this, I know we're just going off the rails now,
Why not?
right? So,
Yeah.
but hey, it's Friday morning. Yeah. It's good.
We're doing the show. What are they going to do?
Chili, beans or no beans?
Beans.
See, I'm beans. Devota, beans or no beans? Beans. Devota says beans.
Absolutely.
See, I like beans in my chili too.
Oh yeah.
Right, but I like a lot of meat in there too. But anyway, so now I'm just completely going off the rails here. What else though?
Scott in there for the health insurance one. He said $1,900 a month. That is that sounds like Cobra cost.
So,
Yeah.
so what did Blair say? I think Penn has an unhealthy relationship with peanuts. Blair, I'm going to tell you something right now. There are a lot of things in this world that I can go without, but there are two staples that I need to function. One is a cup of coffee. The second staple is peanut butter. That's it. If I got some peanut butter at home and I got my coffee, I can survive. That's all I need.
They're going to cancel out the reactions going on in your stomach. That's why.
That's right. Yeah.
One to gum you up, one to clean out.
That's
That's
it.
beautiful.
Right. So so anyway, boy, yeah. This sorry to sidetrack us here so much,
Hey,
Jonathan,
it's
but
a
no,
Friday
so
the 13th episode.
it's all good.
It was going to happen.
So Blair says she was right. Yes, Blair, you were right. But no, look, But yeah, you're talking about health insurance costs. That's another one too that we see, especially in financial plans. Look, college planning, medical expense planning, we apply a much higher rate of inflation in our financial plans to college planning and medical 5% a year, because that's typically what we see, Jonathan. We typically see those expenses that could potentially derail a plan.
That's right.
Right. So see there, I try to bring it all back. Right.
Nice.
But hey, so if we can, Jonathan, I know we're kind of coming up on time here. When we look at our financial planning process, so we've been talking about, planning for goals like, car purchases and maintenance. We touched on, college planning, et cetera. Just as you're visiting with the clients that you assist, with the individuals and families that you assist, what are there? Can you share with us? I know this can be very broad, but kind of some of the other main questions or themes, decisions that you help people make when it comes to the financial planning side of things.
Yeah, I think, a big component, just going back to whether or not you're making the decision to help your children with educational expenses or, trying to secure your own retirement, one of the biggest components for that, and I'm sure you would agree, John, is your long-term care potential cost.
Yeah.
Now, that's a big concern for a lot of individuals. We've seen the massive increase. Speaking of separate inflation rates, we inflate medical costs significantly higher than we inflate standard inflation and education costs in our plans. And that is also intentionally because we see roughly about 7% is the average annual inflation right now in healthcare costs. that's a huge chunk out of your overall plan. And so if you're not accounting for that eventuality, I think you're missing a big piece of the pie.
I think so too. And you can. So there's a wonderful online tool out there. It's Genworth. It's now called Care Scout, where you can go to that website and you can drill down not just by state, city. You can look at your zip code as far as in today's dollars, what the cost of different types of medical care. What is that cost in today's dollars? In-home health care.
That's right.
Assisted living. What if you need a nursing home? Specialized care. Yep. And so what I really like to use this tool for, because it's very common, Jonathan, as we're visiting with folks, like somebody, let's say they live in Texas right now, but eventually maybe they want to have a vacation home or their dream home or their retirement home, they want to be in Colorado.
Yeah.
And so, okay, well, let's kind of let's look ahead. Nobody knows what the future holds, but let's just get a sense of, if you were going to move to Colorado, where do you think you might want to move? And we can look up that area, we can look up that zip code, and we can account for, well, hey, if you leave this zip code in Texas and you move to this zip code in Colorado, hey, here's what the difference in medical care might be. Yeah. And you can factor that specific number in the plan, and then you can run that out to say, well, if we inflate that at that higher rate of inflation, by the time you might need that care, you may or may not. But what if you do? And you want to be prepared for that. And to your point, John, yeah, I mean, it depends also by zip code. Yes.
If you're moving to Colorado and you move to Fort Collins versus Breckenridge, you're probably looking at a pretty significant difference in cost.
Right. So all things that we can account for. So I appreciate that. So sometimes that potential long-term care expense can be very eye-opening.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why we want to look at all of this together in a big holistic plan, because maybe a long-term care policy isn't the answer, but maybe there are other ways that we can explore or model how somebody can self-insure or pay for those costs.
That's right.
Right. So all of that to say is, if you're kind of listening to us and you've never maybe put a financial plan together, or maybe you're afraid to see what the results might be, just start.
Yeah.
Let's get it started, because if you don't get it, and again, nobody knows what the future holds, but let's at least let's look at where you are now and where you want to go, and let's make some reasonable forward-looking assumptions to try to put this together, right? Yep. But at least start. And sometimes I think people they feel like they got to sit down and figure it all out in one visit. I mean, planning is a process.
That's right.
Right?
Incremental changes.
That's it. Incremental changes.
Yep.
So with all that being said, Jonathan, I really appreciate you spending some time in here.
Always good to hang out.
Absolutely. So, look, and if you, all of those out there that are listening in RIA land, any questions that you might have, hey, stop by the website, reach out to us. We're here to help you. Go to realinvestmentadvice.com. You want to know what we're thinking, go to our blog. Lance and Michael, as they are researching the market, as Lance and Michael and Nick Lane, they're researching the market. They're putting their thoughts out there on our blog. Catch our shows. If you just have questions or need some help, we're here for you. Again, go by our website, realinvestmentadvice.com. Hey, if this conversation that Jonathan and I had this morning was helpful, give us a like. That just helps us get out there to help more folks. And again, Jonathan, I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks, John.
Devota, I know you were here too. Appreciate that. And hey, everybody, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.